Together with the two new units, Augusta and Iuno, Iuno decided to rerun 3 of the most important banners. Carlotta, one of the strongest and most reliable main DPS characters released so far, Shorekeeper, the only universal support who fits into almost every team, and Ciaccona, the best in-slot sub-DPS for Cartethyia. This makes 2.6 a tough patch where the real challenge isn't finding value, it's choosing which unit fits best your roster and long-term plans. Every account will face different decisions depending on whether you lack a strong carry, need a universal support, or want a future-proof specific team. In this video, I'll dive into the strengths and weaknesses of each unit, explaining how they fit into different types of roster, and share which 3 I personally consider the top priorities if you don't already own them. This breakdown should help both newcomers and veteran players figure out which pools gives the best value based on their current lineup. If you're new here, hi, I'm Kenzor. I make in-depth guides and breakdowns for free-to-play and low-spender players. If you find this helpful, consider liking, commenting, and subscribing, as it helps me reach my goal of 1,000 subscribers. Let's now dive into the video and break down which unit fits your account best. First up is Augusta, the Phase 1 headliner of patch 2.6. I've already made a detailed video on her full pool value. You'll see a card pop up in the top right corner and the link in the description. Here, I'll just cover the key points. She's the first limited Electro DPS since Xianliao back in version 1.4. Augusta is a heavy attack based DPS with mobility, simple combos, a liberation that stops time, and a shield that keeps her safe. In many ways, she feels like an updated Gian, the aero carry that launched through the game. Just like him, she's simple, effective, and reliable across all content. Tower of Adversity, Wuthering Waves, holograms, and even open world exploration. But she brings it to Electro, with fast gameplay built around her Resonance Liberation. She isn't locked behind premium supports either. Mortify is her best 4-star partner and most players already have him at S6. Frolova, Inlin, and Iuno are limited options that can add extra value. Frolova boosts heavy attack and deals strong damage both on field and off field. Inlin adds more electro damage, and Iuno could even become her best partner if her kit ends up buffing heavy attacks. But Augusta doesn't require any of them to function. Augusta's signature weapon has now been officially revealed. It comes with very high attack power, but a low crit rate stat, which may make it harder to balance her crit through echoes. Her signature will still be her best in slot, but the big question is how much it really improves her damage. If it only gives around 10 to 15% increase, it may not be worth pulling if you are low on Astrites. Beyond her signature, Jian's Broadblade, Verdant Summit, is a strong premium fallback since it also boosts heavy attacks. Another strong option is Jinshi's signature weapon, Ages of Harvest, which provides crit rate as its main stat. This could help Augusta balance her stats more easily if her crit rate feels lacking. Among standard weapons, the 5-star Lustrous Razor remains a good choice thanks to its high attack. For 4-star picks, Aureate Zenith and Autumn Trace from the Battle Pass are the best options, while Waning Redshift and Helios Cleaver are solid backups. Nothing has been revealed yet about Augusta's sequences, but we can assume the early ones will likely improve her damage consistency and help her with lack of crit rate. Until the details are confirmed, it's safe to expect she will perform very well at S0. If you do decide to invest further, S2 or S3 may be the most practical stopping points. Going higher will almost certainly improve her damage, especially at S6, but for the majority of players, it isn't worth the Astrites. Most accounts will get her full value without going beyond S2 or S3. To wrap up, Augusta is one of the best picks of patch 2.6, and maybe from the entire game. She brings huge value with strong performance across all content and flexibility in team building. On top of that, her kit has now been confirmed to include a time freezing mechanic when she enters the enhanced Resonance Liberation. This could be game-changing, since similar mechanics in Kuro's Punishing Ray Raven not only freeze enemies, but can also pause endgame timers, letting you burst huge damage without losing seconds. If it carries over into Wuthering Waves, Augusta could redefine how burst windows work. Her outro also provides a small buff to the teammate swapped in, giving her extra utility beyond just raw damage. She works well even with Mortify, a free unit most players already have, and if her signature's boost proves small, Augusta may end up being one of the most accessible limited DPS in the game, able to perform at high level without her weapon or premium supports. If you are missing a reliable carry or want a long-term investment, Augusta offers the most account value this patch and may even set a new standard for high burst DPS in the game. Carlotta has been one of the strongest single-target DPS units since her release. She's a Glacier Pistol user who excels in boss fights thanks to her burst-heavy kit, freezing mechanics, and long-range damage. Carlotta's greatest strength is how easily she can shred bosses in Tower of Adversity or any single-target content. With Zezi at her side, she becomes one of the strongest boss-killing duos in the game. She also works well with Brand and Cantarella, who provide resonant skill damage buffs, but she isn't locked behind those options. Free supports like Yang, who can keep her rotation smooth, or Taochi for some extra resonant skill damage are decent alternatives. Her downsides are worth noting. She's mainly single target focused, which limits her effectiveness in AoE heavy modes like Wuthering Waves. With good positioning, she can handle small groups, but she won't feel as effective as AoE focused carries. Despite this, Carlotta's consistency isn't matched in isolated encounters. She's also easy to build, rewarding to play, and doesn't require her signature weapon to shine. The Last Dance is Carlotta's best-in-slot pistol, offering crit damage, attack, and resonant skill bonuses. It pushes her single target damage even higher. That said, Static Mist, the standard 5-star pistol, is still an excellent option, keeping her very accessible from a free-to-play perspective. For players who want to invest more, her sequences add steady improvements. S1 improves her rotations and adds some crit rate. S2 increases her liberation damage, and S3 brings another clear damage boost, making it a good stopping point for most players. Going past S3 isn't worth until S6, where she gains her next big spike. Even at S0, Carlotta is strong enough to clear all content, but if you enjoy her playstyle and want more power, aiming for S3 is the most efficient choice. In short, Carlotta's pool value may rise with the upcoming update to Tower of Adversity. If the new floors lean toward boss fights or small enemy groups, her single target strength becomes even more valuable. She works especially well with Static Mist when paired with Zezi, who boosts her kit massively. If you don't have Zezi, her signature weapon becomes more important, providing up to 70% more damage compared to the standard option and helping her keep up with the increased HP of bosses. In free-to-play setups with Yang and Taochi, she still performs well, but with Zezi or other premium partners like Brand and Cantarella, Carlotta can reach higher damage numbers. Overall, she's a strong boss killer whose value is tied to the type of content you expect to face. Shorekeeper is often described as the most valuable support in the game. She provides healing, a revive, crit rate and crit damage buffs, and a universal damage amplifier that works for any team. For new accounts or veteran roosters, Shorekeeper boosts every DPS and adds safety to every team. Even at S0, she transforms how your account feels, while her weapon and high sequences are more like luxuries. Her biggest strength is flexibility. Crit buffs are universally useful, and her healing and revive give a safety net in tough content. She even has an auto-dodge effect that makes rotation smoother. The only drawback is that her value can dip significantly if you already have specialized healers and buffers for certain comps, such as Brand, Cantarella or Iuno, since it was confirmed on the livestream that she will also heal the team. Even then, Shorekeeper still works everywhere. Stellar Symphony, her signature, is more of a luxury than best in slot. In many ways, it feels like a bait, since Variation, the free 4-star option, already does an amazing job without any conditions. With refinements, Variation actually outperforms Stellar Symphony because it gives much more concerto energy and makes her rotation smoother, letting you charge her outro faster. Shorekeeper's main issue is that her rotation can feel too long, and Refined Variation solves that better than her signature. The main reason to pick Stellar Symphony is for the extra 40% attack buff it gives to the teammates, but since refining a 4-star is far easier and cheaper than investing Astrites into a 5-star weapon, most players will get the most value from Variation. Shorekeeper's sequences bring small but helpful improvements. S1 boosts her healing, while S2 increases attack of all party members by 40% and is the most useful stopping point for most players. It's not worth going above S2, since the later upgrades mostly make her rotation smoother or add a bit of personal damage. support should focus on boosting the team, not their own numbers, so S2 is the best place to stop. Even at S0, she is already one of the best units in the game, so extra sequences are nice to have but never required. To sum it up, most of the community considers Shorekeeper the safest and the most valuable pool in the game, but her long-term value is starting to change. She does almost everything: healing, reviving, fixing crit ratios, and amplifying the overall damage of her team. In that sense, she feels like a premium version of Verina. The problem is that as Kuro adds more units, she may get pushed out of the best in slot teams. For example, the fusion team with Lupa, Chanli and Brand don't really want to swap Brand for Shorekeeper, and with Augusta plus Iuno and the future DPS or sub-DPS, there's little room for her either. Modern healers bring sustain and strong damage or auto buffs, something Shorekeeper lacks. Future echo sets will likely boost these new hybrid healers further, while Shorekeeper only benefits from the standard healing set. So while she's still amazing now and can slot into almost any team, she may feel less necessary in the future patches. If you want safe, flexible option and don't plan to chase every new unit, she's worth pulling. But if you are saving Astrites and prefer to build perfect trios with dedicated healers and buffers, Verina can cover the role well enough for free. Shorekeeper remains a great pick, but not a must for every account. Iuno debuts as a hybrid support and sub DPS, bringing healing, range damage, and damage buffs in one kit. I'm also working on a detailed pool value for Iuno that will be released soon. Subscribe if you want to get notified, and if it's already finished by the time you watch this video, you'll find the link in the description. She cycles through different moon states that let her heal allies, provide buffs, and still deal consistent damage. This makes her feel like a mix of Brand and Shorekeeper combined. She brings sustain and damage buffs like Brand, but when she activates her liberation, she also creates a domain similar to Shorekeeper's. She looks especially promising with Augusta since she was showcased together with her, and there's a strong chance Kuro designed some interactions between Augusta's sun and Iuno's moon domain. If that's true, the two are likely meant to work perfectly together. Even though her final value will depend on testing her exact numbers, she already looks like one of the teammates Augusta needs the most. Iuno's strength is that she contributes on both sides, sustain and DPS. She doesn't seem locked into a specific role, which makes her a strong option for many team setups. While she won't replace Shorekeeper's universal value, she could end up being a flexible choice for accounts that already have strong DPS units. The full details of a signature weapon have not been released by Kuro yet, but it's safe to say it will be her best in slot. Like other signatures, it will boost her overall kit and gives her more damage than any other weapon available. But from what we know now, she doesn't depend on it. The new Battle Pass weapon coming with patch 2.6 could fit her kit very well and act as a strong 4-star alternative. So while her signature will naturally give her the highest numbers, Iuno should still perform just fine with the Battle Pass weapon and other standard options. The details of Iuno's sequences are still unknown, but based on past units, her early sequences will likely improve consistency, while her S2 or S3 may follow the same pattern seen with Rocia, Phoebe, Ciaccona, and Shorekeeper by giving elemental or damage boosts. Later ones will probably only add to her personal damage. For most players, S0 is already more than enough. If you do want to invest more, it makes sense to stop where she gains the team damage buff. Anything past that is just extra personal damage and not worth the Astrite for most accounts. In conclusion, Iuno looks like a strong long-term investment for players who already have DPS units built. She may not replace Shorekeeper's universal value, but she brings healing, buffs, and deals damage. We can expect her to have high damage numbers since recent healers like Brand and Cantarella already do more than Shorekeeper. She looks useful not only with Augusta, but in other teams too. Augusta deals electro damage and Iuno deals aero, yet they seem to be designed to work together. Her kit could work with many different elements and open up new team options. This makes her a future-proof unit who can fit into many lineups, not just one specific comp. Ciaccona is an aero sub-DPS mainly designed to work with Cartethyia. She can provide either erosion or frazzle stacks, depending on your team. With her outro buff, she's best in slot for Cartethyia, boosting her damage significantly. Without Cartethyia, her value drops. She can support Gian, but the buffs don't add much for him, so is not recommended. The other option is to use her as a sub-DPS in Spectral Frazzle teams with Zani or Phoebe, where she can still contribute. Her kit is simple to use, with fast rotations and some personal damage. She also gives a permanent 24% aero damage bonus and her outro boosts aero erosion damage by 100%. This may become more useful as more aero erosion units are released. Still, her main strength is boosting Cartethyia. If you don't own Cartethyia, she's more of a luxury pool. Woodland Area is Ciaccona's best weapon because it gives crit rate and aero damage, and it also shreds enemy aero resistance by 10%. What makes it stand out is that the shred applies to the whole team. Once she applies the debuff, all aero characters deal more damage. That said, for most players, it's not worth investing in Ciaccona's weapon. If you're pulling for Cartethyia, you'd usually rather invest Astrites into Cartethia's signature weapon instead. It's also not worth it even if you pair her with Gian, since her aero buff for him are limited, and Mortify generally gives him more value. Static Mist is another good option since its energy makes building her echo set easier. Overall, her weapon feels very similar to Shorekeeper's signature, more of a bait than a necessity. Just stick with Static Mist and she will perform extremely well. Also, her sequences aren't worth the investment. S1 adds some minor damage and some immunity, but S2 gives a 40% team aero damage bonus, which is the only notable upgrade and a good stopping point. Anything past S2 only improves her personal damage, which is not her role. She is meant to support, not carry, so S0 is already enough for her purpose. To sum it up, Ciaccona is only worth pulling if you have or plan to get Cartethyia, but for other comps she is more of a nice to have and often a waste of Astrites, since there are better free or limited options available. Her signature weapon isn't needed, as Static Mist is more than enough. You don't pull Ciaccona for Gian or other aero units, you pull her for Cartethyia, and just having her is what really counts. Looking at overall account value, here are my top priorities. My first choice is Augusta. She feels like the successor of Gian because of her fast kit, AoE potential, time freezing mechanics, and overall flexibility. Her gameplay style makes her fit in almost any endgame content. If you like her playstyle, she should be your top pick. If not, then the alternative is Carlotta. She's the next option if you need another strong DPS, or if Augusta doesn't interest you. Carlotta excels in single target fights, and with the Tower of Adversity getting new levels and likely higher enemy HP, her value rises even more. If you need a second DPS or prefer her style, Carlotta is a safe choice. Now, between Shorekeeper and Iuno, the choice depends on your goal. Shorekeeper is a premium alternative to Verina, great if you want a safe unit that can slot in any team without needing her signature weapon or sequences. She saves Astrites in the long run if you don't plan to chase every new hybrid healer. On the other hand, if you pulled Augusta and want to min-max, Iuno is the better partner. She fits Augusta's kit, adds healing, buffs and damage, and will likely stay relevant in future comps. If you skip Augusta, Shorekeeper is the safer pool, but if you have Augusta, Iuno is the one to prioritize. Last on my list is Ciaccona. She's only worth if you have or plan to get Cartethyia, since her whole design is built around boosting that team. Outside of that, she's not great use of Astrites, because better free or limited alternative exists. Her weapon also feels like a bait, and Static Mist is enough for her to perform. In my opinion, patch 2.6 has the strongest banners so far. Augusta is the clear successor to Gian and a safe main DPS pick. Carlotta remains a boss-killing powerhouse. Shorekeeper is still a reliable safe option, though her value may fall as new hybrid supports arrive. Iuno looks future-proof and has the potential to work not only with Augusta, but with other comps too. And Ciaccona is excellent for Cartethyia, but not much outside of that. In the end, the best pulls depends on your roster, how long you've been playing, and how many Astrites you want to spend. Focus on the units that fit your team now and still gives value later. If you enjoyed this video or found my thoughts helpful, consider liking, commenting and subscribing, as it helps me reach my goal of 1000 subscribers. I've got more content coming soon, and until next time, happy gaming!